See them faces. Check those faces out. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Don't worry, Evan, I'll sort that out in a minute, but just check those faces out. Serious situations require serious faces and serious people. I don't know what Keith's got a smirk about. We'll ask him. Keith's got a little smirk going on.
I'm confused between serious face and pouting faces. So much.
I think typical of the season, you don't know what side your ass is on, basically. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be, wherever you're watching RedFellas on a Sunday night, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. You're all very, very welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate the love, appreciate the support. As a sign of appreciation, please, if you'd like to hit that like button, that would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. It will get us motivated. It will get us going, talking about Liverpool, which can be hard sometimes. We love this team, but they do send us to seventh heaven some weeks and then right back down the following. We will, of course, be talking about all things disastrous on the South Coast. And I'm not talking about the pollution. I'm talking, well, I guess it was a kind of pollution on the pitch. But we will get into all things. Bournemouth 1, goal scorer Billing, Liverpool 0. You heard that right. Bournemouth 1, Liverpool 0 on the back of Liverpool 7, Man United 0, which we didn't even get over, really. We wanted 7 days of celebration, but this club of ours right now hasn't even given us 7 days of celebration. On the seventh day, how does the saying go, guys? Help me out here. What did God do on the sixth day and the seventh day? He rested or something.
So did we.
So I was just going to say, so did Liverpool. So did Liverpool. Guys, let's get that likes ratio up and up and up. As you can see, serious panel. Yep, that's what people are saying, and that's what it is about, mate. Full house tonight. Look at that. Full house. Welcome, everyone. Conroy. How's life?
Yeah, do you know what? Life's pretty good, to be honest. But
That's
Liverpool,
good.
Yeah, exactly. You have to dissociate. But yeah, Liverpool aren't very good at the moment. Well, it's like Jekyll and Hyde. I've been watching a very good programme. I've not finished it yet. If any's watch you with Penn Badgley, it's a very good show. But I don't want to give some of the spoilers away, but Jekyll and Hyde comes to mind when I talk about Liverpool. And I think that's a very good summary of this weekend compared to last weekend. I think Cav just mentioned it off screen. This team, it can't actually be normal. Like, I actually believe that with us. I know sometimes we think in our own self-indulgence with our own football team, but I believe it can't be normal for sometimes how we can do that 1 week and then do the opposite. Like that can't be a normal emotional thing in a club. But yet again, we pull it off.
Steve, I know you had the unenviable task of being in charge of socials for Red Men this game.
Yeah.
Good luck, you. Well,
Still not over it, mate. Do you know what? They jump on you for the slightest things. A little funny story. When Trent shanked that ball off the volley in the first half,
yeah.
I put a tweet out saying, and the Bournemouth fans go wild. Not like they've had much to cheer about lately, is it? And some bloke comes back saying, You'll get ribbon for that. They'll catch us out. You know, that will come back to bite you on the arse, type of thing. And how right he was, mate. Yeah, it was a very, very difficult day for all of us, but very difficult day for Liverpool fans in general. Yeah, it's a roller coaster at the moment, isn't it? And like Klopp says, the more you look at it and the more you listen to what he said, all we can put Man United down to is a freak result, because that's not the same energy, the same intensity, the same team performance for 6 days later against, dare I say it, similar to Nottingham Forest, the team in 20th place. We can't even get ourselves sorted out for that. So yeah, it's tough at the moment, mate.
It's tough, isn't it, Cav? You're normally, I don't want to use that term. Apparently, we shouldn't be using that term, even encouraging it. It begins with T and ends in P, and then Reds. You shouldn't be encouraging or saying it, but you're normally, you're normally a very positive guy, always looking on the bright side of life, and then this happens. What happened? Even you're a bit distraught, maybe, or frustrated. I don't know.
We come on this show this season and do therapy sessions because we're sad. We come on and we celebrate the highs. I think this week's just delusion. Like, just what the hell goes on with this club? I mean, Steve just mentioned it there. It's like a roller coaster. But the sad thing is with this roller coaster is the highs are really high. So the highs make you convince yourself that a corner's been turned and that things, okay, we kick on from here. And then the lows are so bad. And it's like, can we just have one of them roller coasters? What is it? The children's one where it just, little.
Go slowly and slowly. No drama.
Yeah.
No drama. You can wave at our friends with it, parents, and no drama. No high speed velocity up or down. Either way, just, I pray for calm, normal weekends, Keith. This club will be, I don't know, not the death of us. You know what I mean? It's going to be, it's emotional, isn't it, following this club right now?
It's always emotional, though, isn't it? I listen to Pep Guardiola, and when he says, that they're, he's so proud this season because Manchester City are there. They're just there. They may not be having the best season in the world, but they're just there. Why can't we just be there? Why is it that for the past 25 years of this club, everything is always ridden on emotional waves, right? There's never been a time where we can not just be consistently just there for more than a season or two without having to take a dramatic drop to then have to then pull ourselves up the following season and then go on dramatic highs. Sometimes I just feel like the emotional side of things is almost sometimes our biggest weapon, but sometimes our biggest downfall as well. Feel like we drain ourselves so much in big occasions, and then just I'm fuming. By the way, I am fuming.
I'm looking forward to inhaling some of your fume, because I'm also fuming. I've got a war hat on. We're not even playing anyone. I'm going to war on some of my own players, coaches, whatever. So I'm ready with you, brother. We're front line this week. I'm telling you now. Someone I've never really seen lose it, like fume-wise or otherwise, Evan. The day you lose it, then that's the day I completely give up. So hopefully you haven't completely lost it.
Well, to that, I'll just say that we all process trauma differently. We're all just, people have used, my fellow panelists have said anger. They're sad. I'm tired. That's my word. I'm just tired. I'm just going to echo real quickly what people said. Cav, it's been multiple false dawns this season. Results where we feel, we've turned it around. 9-0 against Bournemouth, 7-0 against United, annihilating Rangers, beating Ajax comfortably away. There's been moments this season where we felt like we were, okay, we kick on from here, and then it just hasn't happened. I'm sick of 4:30 a.m. kickoffs, noon kickoffs for you, 4:30 a.m. for me. Pretty sure we've lost every single one, or at least dropped points in every single 4:30 a.m. fixture for me. And I'm also glad Conroy brought up the show You with Penn Badgley. There's an actress in that show, Victoria Pedretti. I'm absolutely in love with you, Victoria. So if you're watching this and you're free, anytime between now and the end of the season at 4:30 a.m. or 12:30 UK, I am free. I have no prior engagements. I will be around. So let me know.
Is that what we're doing now? We just get use
honestly, why not, Cav? Why not, Cav? Why not?
Why not? Look at Grizz. Grizz is speechless. He doesn't even know what to say. Listen, all I'm saying is that I'm free because I've clearly been wasting my time with the other love of my life, Liverpool. Grizz asked, how is life? Liverpool is life and life is pain. And that's really all I'm gonna say. It is a bit of a perfect freeze. Shout out to everybody. But yeah, decent show. You. It's a bit of a roller coaster as well. Maybe I should get into like a calmer show or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, to anybody who doubts my commitment to the cause of Liverpool, we've dropped points / lost every single 4:30 a.m. kickoff.
Isn't Man City 12:30 kickoff as well?
No, I think
Alright.
that was a Sunday, wasn't it? Was that not a
No,
Sunday
the next,
kickoff?
our
The
next
next one.
game. Yeah.
Cav, why did you have to do that, Cav?
Sorry. Sorry, I just...
to be honest, I think the writing may be on the wall with that one anyway, but we'll see. I actually thought Grizz was playing a part there, but obviously he froze, which was perfect timing. But yeah, it's we'll wait for him to come back. But in all seriousness, it has been up and down. And just I'll say to you to all the now. So I heard an interesting stat as well. Now I'm sure that's when Wolves beat us 3-0 a couple of weeks ago. Were they in the bottom three, or they were just outside the bottom three? Leeds beat us 2-1. At Anfield, I think they were in the bottom three then. That was obviously yesterday, and Notts Forest as well. And there may be a few others. There's a theme here, guys. There's an obvious pattern. And I don't like to go on to, you talk about arrogance or complacency, but there's a lot of examples. There is definitely something here. And maybe the other side, maybe it's like, when it's the Anfield nights, everyone gets up for it. That's great. But going forward, that's not really a good sign. Like, would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, and arrogance is a terrible thing. In anything where you compete, if you're arrogant, to quote Errol, you get humbled, and you do get humbled, and we got humbled. And there are players who go into those games thinking, okay, we beat Man United 7-0, we've just got to turn up because everything will fall into place. I think that was a club issue at the weekend. I think the selection showed we had a degree of arrogance about us. You go to a side like Bournemouth, you go to with a side that's prepared to roll up the sleeves and fight against a team that's fighting for its survival in the Premier League. One thing for sure is they will leave everything out there in their quest to try and stay in this league, and we didn't set ourselves up to deal with that. We had players on there, and it's early doors, but it's an early shout. We had a man wearing the captain's armband who played the worst performance I've seen him play for Liverpool Football Club. It was absolutely disgraceful, and that's to wear the captain's armband, to be put out there as one of the best centre-backs Liverpool Football Club have ever had. I have seen Liverpool be there every season, Keith, because I'm a bit older than you guys. For 14 years, Liverpool turned up every single season and went the distance. 14 years. And Graham Souness gets a lot of stick on Sky Sports for the things he says. Those players won everything. And then the following season, they came back and they did it again. Because they found a blend within the squad. They found a mentality in the squad that said, like Manchester City have got now, like it's been alluded to about Pep, that you have to find something within you that says, last season was great. If you're a good team if you win the league, you're a great team if you retain the league. And that was Liverpool's mantra over the years. And you could not be further from the truth. To go to the team in 20th place, that was a worse performance than Nottingham Forest for me. And I didn't think I'd be saying that this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think just on that, I think we can go through the individuals later on. I think we all agree with that point, or we can kind of break that down. But on the selection, Steve, you mentioned that, and I'll just move to Cav on this. I think the main one we could all agree, the main change, not main change because we played during the week, but the main area where probably the one when you see that lineup, you go straight to would be the midfield, with being Bajcetic, Elliott, and Fabinho. Now on Steve, I think Steve makes a very good point as well. I'm sure that Lerma just came back for Bournemouth. He may have been missing the previous game as well. Their midfield list, he says. Sorry, what was that, Keith?
He was a late fitness test. They made a decision with him on the day.
And it's going to be an absolute battle with that midfield. And to be fair to Gary O'Neill, he came in a squad that was labelled, not good enough by Scott Parker. Scott Parker's not really helped himself with that. Got sacked, went to Club Brugge, who were on a great run, and now has been sacked by Club Brugge. I think Gary O'Neill's came in and done a pretty good job at making them as resilient as they can be. I think they've actually lost a lot of games from winning positions. So there's a bit of resilience in the club to come together and stay up, unified, as you mentioned, Steve. So it's like to go into this game, it's like you can't underestimate them. And I think you're spot on when you said that, Steve. But Cav, with regard to that, what was your first thoughts on the midfield selection?
You see, I know there was concerns about playing the two young lads either side of Fabinho with the physicality in the game. Obviously, they're up against somebody like Lerma, who is one of them players that would never I don't think we'll go to a top team, but you'd certainly recognise when he's on the team sheet because you know what you're going to be coming up against. High energy and physical and gets about the pitch well. And you're always a little bit wary of players like that. But I wasn't overly concerned, and maybe I was guilty of just thinking that the confidence from United would just, spur us on, and that players would be performing at sort of their optimal level. I thought that, Elliott had done well recently. Bajcetic obviously was last month player of the month, and doesn't shirk out of challenges, doesn't, gets across the pitch well, isn't afraid of putting a challenge in and things like this. And then Fabinho seems to have a slight resurgence in form. I was actually okay with it. And don't get me wrong, the guys that were saying the physicality in midfield were probably right, but my overriding feeling was, I don't care who you put out, to be honest, it's Bournemouth. Like, no disrespect to them, but they're 20th for a reason. Like, we should be able to put out a whole host of changes in this lineup and get the job done. Like, what is the Vitality Stadium? Like a 13,000 seater stadium? It's not hostile. It's not intimidating. It's a 12:30 kickoff. The weather's nice. It should just be a routine 3 points. Like, I looked at that midfield and was like, yeah, you maybe could drop Henderson in there for some of the work rate and the energy and carry these guys through, and maybe a bit of leadership. But I'm like, do we really need that in this game? Just need to go out and do a job. So I actually wasn't that concerned with it, I'll be honest.
But do you think that's maybe a lack of respect from our part then? Because if you'd actually watched Bournemouth last week against Arsenal, it wasn't just the goals. They had about 3 or 4 breaks that were very, very, very good against a brilliant Arsenal team. And every Arsenal fan last week were very impressed by Bournemouth. So obviously that game plan suits us, especially when they play a high line. So I don't mean just yourself, Cav, but do you think there was maybe an overriding feeling of complacency by the team with that kind of attitude towards it? We've beat Man United. We don't have to care about tactics. Don't have to care about low blocks. We'll just go and win the game. But maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's us in a nutshell. We think emotion and joy wins you games, but that's not how football works. And do you think that's maybe as a whole the club have felt that way, or do you think maybe just what happened in the game we're looking at it that way now?
I think that as it panned out, complacency was a thing. So I can't sit here and deny that, because that seemingly is fact. But we always talk about squad depth. We always talk about points in the season where you can rotate. And for me, playing the team at the bottom of the Premier League in Bournemouth, that yes, they got goals against Arsenal, but I didn't think they were good by any means. They shown a bit of resilience. But if you can't rotate and get 3 points against a side like Bournemouth, like I say, bottom of the table, when can you? And this is the whole thing. Like, are we now saying that Liverpool have to have their first 11 out against every single team to get points? It shouldn't be like that. There should be enough quality and depth, which I think there was on the day, to be able to beat a team like this. Like, so
that's fair enough, mate. Yeah.
I get we should never be complacent, and we should always show respect to opposition. But actually, I'm like, show respect to Bournemouth. Just go win.
Can I respectfully disagree with that to some extent? You lose to Forest, you lose to Brighton, you lose to Brentford, you lose to we've lost 12 games this season. There's 11 precursors to what happens if you don't approach these games in the right manner. If you don't approach these games with it, it doesn't matter if it's Bournemouth or Arsenal. You've got to go through the same routine week in, week out to try and understand what it is to win a game of football. A really cliched crap thing to say. You have to earn the right to play football, but that means you have to do all the things properly. And we're not doing those things properly. And I take your point that in times gone by, Cav, you should have been able to rotate and make 3 or 4 changes. But the Premier League is showing us this season that there's teams out there that we don't perceive to be very good, don't allow you to do that anymore. So it's no surprise Arsenal are top of the league. And if you look at their team sheet, they pretty much play the same team week in, week out. They make very, very subtle changes. We only made the one change, which was by Bajcetic, but the midfield just didn't work at all. Lerma and his boys were physical, aggressive, and at it. And I understand what you're trying to say. I just don't think with 11 previous defeats across all competitions in the season, we could ever afford to go down to Bournemouth and have that attitude.
I don't know what you guys have discussed. First of all, I want to apologize to you guys and for everyone else. I didn't need a timeout to calm down and compose myself. That could have been the reason. That would have been my excuse, but it was just shit Wi-Fi. But I don't know what you guys have discussed, but I'm sure it was quite riveting.
Team sheets too, and the team sheet.
Okay, Cool. Well, I wanted to dig in a bit more into that, if you don't mind. But let's read the super chat first. Woke up at 4:30 a.m. after 5 hours of sleep to see that lackluster performance. Sulav says, felt like I had more energy than the players on the pitch. 7-0 to 1-0 loss. Yeah, it's mad. So you guys apparently have been discussing the lineup, and that was my biggest gripe. As soon as we saw the lineup, we started talking about it in the thing, and I said, I think I just caught on what Steve was saying at the end. When we have seen, when we have sheer, clear evidence of us being bullied in pretty much, tell me if I'm wrong, even the win against Newcastle away, we, in my opinion, were pretty much bullied and played off the park. So in pretty much every away game of the last, I don't know, or since the start of the season in Fulham, from Fulham onwards, we have been physically bullied and then almost mentally bullied. Yet we still entrust, or Klopp entrusts, 2 18-year-olds stroke 19-year-olds and a player that's just come back to form, you know, fair play to him, he has, to go in what was going to be a bruising encounter. I heard someone mention Lerma. He was even 100% fit, lads. They brought him back. They rushed him back because they thought, we'll get a hold of these kids in midfield. And that's where we'll dictate the game. Teams are not having to play football against us. Anyone that tries to play football against us, Man United, Man City, Napoli, Ajax, to name a few, have come undone. Spurs, that have the confidence and the players to play football against us. The likes of Wolves, Leeds, Nottingham Forest, this week, the teams that know they can't match us on the ball stuff are saying, you know what? Let's match. In fact, let's beat them off the ball and just wait and just wait and just wait and just wait. And we've done the same thing. 20 minutes, we looked like a football team, continuing from there, had our chances, didn't put them away. Set pieces, how many times have we screamed out for set pieces? I don't know who I'm aiming this at, so feel free to come in whenever I've finished my opening run. We have our chances through set pieces. How many times have we said, when things don't go well, set pieces are the key to important wins? We'll get on to Virgil van Dijk as well as an individual performance from a club captain. He was the club captain, I believe, on Saturday. Yes, he was. Yep. I thought it was embarrassing and atrocious after 20 minutes because the first moments of adversity, we folded again. And I lay heavily the blame starting from the top. And starting from the top is always Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. It was one of those games, right? Virgil van Dijk has a chance in the first couple of minutes, and the header gets cleared off the line by, you guessed it, Jefferson Lerma. So he had a part to play in this entire game. We then have a chance, and this was another thing. Like at the start of the game, and Klopp alluded to it at the end, we were attempting to play through the lines, right? Virgil van Dijk was playing long balls up to Robertson. Robertson was bombing down. We were going down the wings. We were making those second man runs, and we were feeling more confident with the ball. But it was the minute they had the first chance when their right winger rounded Alisson, and then all of a sudden it was kind of like, oh, well, the first couple of chances didn't work out. Do you know what we're going to do? We're just going to continue to knock the ball around from Virgil to Konate, from Virgil to Konate, back to Alexander-Arnold, back to Konate, back to Virgil. And we're going to keep it around amongst ourselves. And Robertson's making the run. And when we talk about the goal, whoever gets to talk about it, you would have seen, right? Robertson is already halfway up there. So the players are trying to make the runs, but we get counterattacked once, and then all loss of confidence kicks in. How are these players losing such confidence when they're supposed to be the players? This is supposed to be FIFA World Pro 11 Van Dijk playing in this team. This is supposed to be Champions League winners, Premier League winners. These are supposed to be players of that ilk who mentally they should be able to be like, do you know what? Okay, you counterattacked us once. Okay, let's see if you're going to try that again when we catch you on the break again. But it seems that the minute that counterattacks happened the first time, we kept the ball and we played dangerously because all of a sudden we were far, far wider, far deeper. And Bournemouth actually thought to themselves, do you know what? We're going to press them a little bit more. And a lot of teams that have been doing that to us this season, they have felt confident enough that our players lack any sort of genuine confidence, and they will make a mistake, but they now push up higher than I've ever seen teams from the bottom 10 push up against Liverpool, particularly in the midfield. And you know what? That probably goes to your point, Grizz, and that probably goes to a point a lot of people have made. People look at Bajcetic, Elliott, and Fabinho as a midfield three that actually, do you know what? Let's get them a little bit uneasy, because if we get them uneasy, we'll nick something off them, and nick something off them they did.
Evan, sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to come to you anyway, and I was
Yeah.
going to, and I think I might have been reading your mind, because I know you don't like, well, none of us really like. None of us like singling out players and saying that that's the reason for the team failing and the setup failing and the structure failing. But if I'm an opposition manager,
Yeah.
and I've got physical players in my team active, and I know I've got the home ground support, and I've got a tight pitch, I'm not looking tactics. I'm not looking high line of sight. I'm just saying, don't let that midfield get hold of that ball, because look at those two kids in there. The kids, it's harsh. I'm going to sound so harsh now, but I'm repping Liverpool Football Club. I'm speaking on Liverpool Football Club. I'm not speaking on, with disrespect to, I'm not even going to mention any teams. I'm speaking about Liverpool Football Club here. As harsh as I may sound, and forgive me if I'm overly harsh, but if you're playing for Liverpool Football Club in midfield, I don't give a shit how old you are. I don't give a shit how naive or are you. If you're playing and you're being entrusted by the manager, then you need to show it, and you need to show your levels. They have been able to me shown that and I've said this before, and I've got so much slack, and Cav knows. I don't think they should be leading players in our midfield on a weekly basis. Bajcetic and Elliott and Fabinho obviously, I don't think they should be starting for us in tough away games. Simple as that. I don't think they're good enough. I don't think the reason why we kept passing the ball between the back, and then suddenly long is because there's nothing in midfield. It's being bypassed. We're waiting for a Núñez run, we're waiting for a Robertson run, or we're waiting for a Salah run. There's nothing. Gakpo is the one coming to receive the ball. Elliott tried. Bajcetic and Fabinho, in my humble opinion, I don't think they're good enough to do it.
I don't disagree with anything you said in terms of how the game played out. Me personally, while we're talking about the lineup, though, I will say I think I'm a little bit beyond. Mentally, I'm a little past the lineup, because I don't think we have currently a midfield three that has the ideal balance for any situation, or most situations. It doesn't have to be every situation. We currently don't have a midfield trio that ticks enough boxes to give us the consistency and the shifting of gears that a team like us requires. I've said this, I tweeted this back in October, and I keep coming back to it. Conrad knows this. We're certainly not the worst team in the Premier League, but we are the easiest team to play against. And I say that, and it means that there is a recognizable blueprint now. And I don't disagree with anything anybody has said prior to this. You know, Keith said teams are now pressing Liverpool. Teams are now matching Liverpool in midfield. It wasn't so long ago the other team's striker wouldn't cross the halfway line. We used to deal with Benitez-esque Newcastle blocks week in, week out, and then every once in a while we wouldn't punch through one and we'd get frustrated. Nowadays, teams are recognizing the holes that we leave between our midfield and defensive line in build-up, and they are matching us. They are recognizing that Liverpool are no longer an efficient possession-based team. We are a transition-based team. Go look at our finest moment this season, 7-0 to United. We looked best in transition. That's where we looked best. That's where our highest quality goals were. We looked best in transition. We are not an effective possession-based team. There are times, absolutely, where the kids look out of their depth, and they're going to, even in the best of situations, even in the best of times, teenagers are going to look out of their depth, and that's okay. We forgive them for it. I'm a little bit, to return to what I'm saying, I'm a little bit past team selection, because I've yet to see us have a midfield three that can consistently bring the stability that is required. And for that reason, I'm a little bit past individuals as a whole. So in terms of my criticism, I'm taking a step back and I'm looking more at sort of the systems and the tactical direction. And of course, this takes you closer to guys like Jurgen Klopp and Pep Linders. For the record, before people say I'm not advocating for this, for the record, I do think the fastest way for Liverpool to get back to where they need is to sign a bunch of great new players, because clearly that needs to happen regardless. However, I'm beyond the point where I think individuals alone, on the individuals in those 11 starting slots alone, are going to be the thing that transforms Liverpool back to where they need to be. Equally important is to the signings that we need to make this summer is what Klopp and Linders and the coaching staff decide to do about what type of team we are going to be. Are we going to be a transition-based team? Are we going to maximize the physical attributes of guys like Nunez, of guys like Salah? Are we going to be a possession-based team where we're maximizing the attributes of people like Trent, people like Thiago, technicians like that? It seems Liverpool have a humongous identity crisis. For the first time in the Klopp era, I could not articulate, and I'm a bit of an expert at Liverpool, if I do say so myself, I cannot articulate to you what type of team we are. And that is why I'm tired, and that's why I chose that word at the start of the show.
If that's the case, Conroy, and and of course I agree, we are. I've been saying it for ages. We have no identity right now in terms of where we are, what we are. And if we look at the results and the teams we've played, and it's so glaringly obvious that our best results have been against teams that have tried to play football against us. And so therefore we know we're a transition team. So then why is Jurgen Klopp and Pep Linders still, after all the warning signals that we have been given, not even warning signals, slaps in the face that we have been given over the season away from home, still continue to pick the shortest, the slowest, okay, maybe not the slowest, but the shortest and the least physically dominant midfield we could pick? I know Bejic has impressed a lot of people, including myself. I know Harvey Elliott performed brilliantly last week, and I know Fabinho showed me something. And now the question people are going to say, well, what else could he have done? So I'm going to ask all of you guys, what else could he have done? If we are saying that we're past individuals and Jurgen Klopp hasn't got much choice, why are we absolving everyone and everything of blame here? And when I mean blame, I mean critical analysis. I don't mean blame for the sake of F him. By the way, we can't swear too much anymore on YouTube. Tell me, because none of you guys swear. I'm the one who swears. So I'm just reminding myself, by the way, guys. So I'm just telling myself, shut up, Grizz. But guys, and this is to everyone. So then what is the issue here? If we're saying, the personnel, the kids, and I agree, we can't pinpoint it all on kids. And if we're saying Jurgen Klopp what else can he do? What else can he do? Conroy's probably gone. Steve, what is our identity going forward? What is the plan moving forward with the types of signings? Because yes, I agree. It will be key to seeing where we want to go with the types of signing. Okay, Conroy's back. So maybe Conroy wants to take this first. What is the long-term vision in your opinion? Because do you remember last couple of seasons ago, we thought, okay, we're evolving from the workman-like midfield to Thiago, Naby, Elliott, Curtis Jones even, these kind of players. I think that's been ripped up. I genuinely think that's been ripped up again.
Well, I think the proof
and
is...
moving forward as well, sorry.
Yeah, but the proof is, like, you've not seen a Jurgen Klopp team play that way. Like, yes, you can have technically like good midfielders who can create as well, but ultimately Jurgen Klopp's success is athletic engine room midfield. Like, that's it. Like, let's just be honest. And this type of movement, evolution into which I still don't really understand why we do it, because there's no proof that that's ever worked under his management. And by the way, don't get me wrong, like, you can have that athletic engine room midfield. They can still obviously be good technically, but that's if you look at his Dortmund team, that's a main attribute as well. Look at us being successful. There's not really been much evidence to say that the current coaching staff he's got can help like create that, and I think it's proved. Like, again, Everton this season, we put Carvalho and Elliott in midfield, hoping you know teams who do that. Barcelona, Spanish teams who players are that good on the ball that if there is a low team who try to get to you, they can't get near you. But we aren't good enough technically with our midfielders. Like, as Evan says, like, I actually rate them and I think the potential is there. but they're not Pedro Gavi. They're not at that level. So again, it comes back to the thing. It seems that that's ripped up because there's no evidence to say that was ever going to work. Because really, some of the decisions are baffling at times. It does come from a place that I feel like they're unsure of which way they're going, and that's what it looks like. So, for me going forward, I've said this before, and I think, to be fair, I said this a couple of weeks ago. You probably could get another manager right now who could probably tactically do more with the squad and get better results right now. Right now, in the rest of the season, there's a few managers you could get, probably could do that. But ultimately, in the summer, you want Jurgen Klopp because his plan, his initial plan, his success, the way he plays, that formula, if you can get the players in to do that, it's been successful. So going forward, for me, Grizz, it has to be that way because there's no proof that another way will work. We sometimes delude ourselves into thinking, like last, I think it was this week, we're talking about like we want this type of midfielder, like a Bernardo Silva, a Gundogan, who can do that. Listen, we don't play that way. We don't suffocate teams by a million cuts, as Keith says, like Man City. That's not us. They might be at Oil State. That's who we're competing with, but we don't play that way. The success we've had is a certain type of way. It's not rock and roll football, but at the end of the day, there's phases in that where it is. But ultimately, it's an engine room midfield who can suffocate teams and allow us to win the ball high up so then we can perform higher up in that team's half and have success. That's the way we play. Like, obviously, that's a one blanket statement. There's lots of intricacies of it as well, but that's it. And sometimes I think we're not watching a Barcelona. That's not what we're built on. That's not what Klopp's built on. But sometimes I think we think that team wants to do that, and I just don't see it. So for me, that's the way it has to be going forward because there's no proof that there's been that possession based, tiki tac or constantly have the ball. That's not been successful for us.
Go on, Keith.
No, and you know why it's not being successful for us? Because we've got players who, on instinct, do things to bypass the midfield. When you look at Virgil van Dijk, for example, when he gets that ball and he's looking for that crossfield ball, he's not looking to like knock it into the midfield and for us to then start building up from that middle section. When Trent gets the ball, Trent's looking to play crossfield balls. Trent's looking to get Mo Salah, Luis Nunez, Diaz, in behind. They're not looking. I mean, you can argue that Thiago at times has been the one player that
is the one player
has been literally the one player that's done that. But even Thiago in this Liverpool team has been very much the kind of guy at times has played passes that you think to yourself, well, why the hell do you play that pass? Because now we've got a transition and we're having to chase it back.
So I'm going to put to you guys, is Thiago Alcantara, I'm not going to ask the most stupidest question when people say, is he good enough? He's magnificent footballer. But is he reliable? Is he reliable enough? Does he play enough for Liverpool to base our whole game moving forward around him? Because I feel as though that's what we've tried since we've got him into the team. We've tried to revolve and evolve our playing style with the signing of Thiago because he wasn't. Do you remember we had a little chat in the WhatsApp group, me and Sam talking about our type of player we bought and the age group or whatever. Thiago blew that out of the water, this model, because we thought he's so good and he's going to be the evolution of our midfield, of our playing style from the workman-like midfield. What do we do now then? Because Thiago doesn't play enough.
I think everybody from the full panel to pretty much 99% of Liverpool fans on the internet and off the internet know Thiago doesn't play enough, just generally speaking. This is a poison chalice, if you will. We signed up for this. Surely we knew this coming in, that he was not going to be a guy who's going to start 35 of the 38 Premier League games this season. I will say, Thiago, you shouldn't base your midfield around him for that reason. However, Thiago is good enough to play in any type of midfield. Thiago, just as an all-around midfielder, so much is made of, the technical stuff, the passing, the vision, the intangible side of the game. The guy is far and away, looking at the numbers, our most successfully combative midfielder this season. That is saying something. That says good things about him and his game, and an underrated side of his game is ball winning and interceptions and recovering possession. But it also says bad things about the rest of our midfield, who are supposed to be better at that than Thiago. So Thiago is good enough. We shouldn't base our midfield around him because he isn't available enough, Grizz, to answer your question. But I do say he's good enough to be a part of any reinvention of the midfield going forward, because
Agreed.
I could see him being successful in a possession team, in a transition-based team, in a vertical team, in a wide possession-based team, because I've seen him in different situations just do extraordinary things.
I agree. But I want to come back to what I meant, and maybe I didn't word it properly. I'm not specifically talking about the way we set up in midfield. I'm talking about the way we play as a team then. Because if Thiago, and I agree, Thiago can function in any midfield as long as he's got the right personnel, right set up with him. But if Thiago's not in that team and he doesn't play enough, then have we got the quality of player to continue to play that type of football that we're asking Thiago to play? Then is it horses for courses? Then moving forward, are we going to buy athletes in the summer? Destructive type players, box to box, full of energy? Are we going to reinvent? Are we going to bring back Hendo, Fabinho, and Gini 0.20? Or are we going to buy Naby Keita, Thiago types and continue trying to evolve our playing style? Because it's key, guys. Because you're right. Conroy spoke about it. There is an identity crisis for the team from a week-to-week basis now. And that is one thing we never, ever had, an identity crisis. We knew what we were about. We truly don't know what we're about right now.
Yeah. But to be honest with you, Grizz, managers stumble across formations, stumble across things that were class of 92 being the best example of how you can fortuitously stumble over something that gives you 15 years of success. Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Henderson, we struck upon something that was really, really ruthlessly efficient. It was the platform the whole thing was built on. But the day Gini Wijnaldum walked out the football club and we replaced him with Thiago, for the most part, the right reasons in terms of the footballing technical ability and what he gives you, that blueprint went out the window because Gini Wijnaldum was effective running back towards his own goal, recycling the ball. You don't go and buy a player of Thiago's ability and ask him to run back towards his own goal with the fear of God in his eyes trying to win the football back. And it's been alluded to that the rest of the midfield are not good enough to support him. He is technically in a class of his own. In terms, I don't. Evan's right. That's not even up for debate. There's not a Liverpool player on the planet, Liverpool fan on the planet, that would disagree with that. But for the mechanics of what we're trying to do at the moment, it's a difficult fit for him because the other two guys alongside him aren't supporting him, aren't giving him enough. And let's be romantic and let's assume that we do get Jude Bellingham in the summer. We're not buying Jude Bellingham to be a ball recycler that sits in right or left centre midfield and does nothing else other than win the ball back and work on a press. He's got too much in his locker to allow that to happen. He will be more dynamic. He will be potentially more box to box. How does that work? Then we employ a double pivot. Yes, Thiago can play in a double pivot, but the guy that plays alongside him has to be of the standard of a Wijnaldum or a Fabinho or of a Henderson 2.5 years ago, not today. Because 2.5 years is a long time in football, and both those guys are knackered. You know, I've talked about how many games they've played before. Both those two guys, you can't keep going to the well and expecting to draw stuff from them. Henderson needs to move into the Milner role next season because we need to manage his minutes. There were times at the weekend that certain Liverpool players looked like they couldn't run, and he's had that problem all season. So in terms of what does it look like, what's our identity? Short answer is we don't know until we know who we're getting.
Until the type of player we bring in.
If we buy Jude Bellingham, everything changes because you have a really, really dynamic midfielder and you cannot afford to suppress that dynamism. You just can't do it. You just can't say to him, stop being the player you are, sit in that right-sided centre midfield thing and just protect the area and win the ball back. You need more from him and he'll give you more. So then you have to change the formation, which is why you and I get excited when we hear about 4-2-3-1. But we went 4-2-3-1 when we made the changes at the weekend and it didn't work. And that was because the guys in the centre of the midfield were not good enough to do the job.
Absolutely. Cav, I want to bring it back to the game as much as we don't want to bring it back to the game because incidents during the game were infuriating me. And none more than the goal. I'm sorry your name landed on the goal, chat.
Okay.
So just, 15 minutes previous to that, they get through. Like, I don't know how the guy misses. He does everything except put it back in the net. I thought, where's he going? I thought, where are you going? Just relax, calm down, tap it into an empty net. It was like just road running, just continued running. Describe the goal. I don't know. There's so much blame being attached to Trent, to Konate, to Virgil. It's one of those goals where the team is shambolically set up. It's one of those goals where no one reacts, no one covers each other. Everyone is looking at everyone else to do something. And in the end, no one does anything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's the saying that every goal is preventable, right? Which is very true. But it seems like when Liverpool concede goals, they're just so easy. And I think it was said in commentary as well that when Liverpool concede goals, it's like they just cruise through the midfield, get straight onto the back four. And there's no... Liverpool can go through a game whereby Virgil and whoever his partner is, they dominate aerially and they win their challenges. They can be aggressive when they need to be. And they seemingly are in full control, you know, of that back line. And then you concede such an easy goal and you go, what the hell happened? Did everyone just have like, you know, we hit pause on everybody for a minute here. And the goal was, you could lay blame to a lot of people, but actually it's a goal that you could describe in a way that you described a lot of the goals we conceded this season. And especially when you talk about Virgil, as in Virgil's sort of nearest to the man on the ball, who I think was Utara. Is that how you say his name? And he's already proved he's got a bit of pace about him and he's directed, he's willing to sort of run and get into the area. So you should have already picked up on this, you know, recognize that he's not going to stop and check. He's going to continue to press forward. Virgil goes with him and then just suddenly stops and tries to pass him on to Robertson. And Robertson's not the right side of the player to be passing on anyway. So you'd like to think that a man of Virgil's intelligence would have known that, you know, as the move transpires. But it's one of those where it's like, he shouldn't have passed him on, no. But in Virgil's head, he's probably trusting his teammate. He's probably trusting Robertson to pick him up. But this is where I've had a frustration with Virgil this season is often he can have a very good game and then we concede a goal and people want to blame him. And I think the blame isn't necessarily his action, it's his lack of action. It's the fact that if he can, in his head, if he thinks he can get over there and put a challenge in or stop the cross, just do it. Just do it. Forget about your teammates. Forget about trusting anybody else. If you believe there's a chance in which you can cut that ball out and prevent the threat, just do it. And I have no idea why he stopped. No idea why he stopped. If he just keeps running, yes, he might not tackle the player and run away with the ball, but he'll certainly get in front of it and prevent the ball coming into the box. And it's just the simple things that again cost us. Konate kind of overcommits when he's sort of running back and can't really stretch his leg out to block the ball. I don't blame that too much, to be honest with you. And the guy that seemingly was the biggest threat to our side leading up to that goal in Billing is the man that tucks it away. I mean, who's not picking up on the fact that Bournemouth don't have a lot of threats, but he is one and he's already proved it in this game? Why is nobody recognizing that he's one of the few men in the box and no one picks him up?
3-on-1, by the way.
Keith, I know you want to come on the Virgil van Dijk debate, but I'm just going to give my very quick version of events in terms of Konate. Konate actually is the only one seeing the danger, so he does overcommit, but that's because of the lack of commitment from Virgil. So he thinks, oh shit, Virgil stopped. I better try to get across and try to get that near post covered where he thinks the ball's going to go. The most frustrating part of the Virgil non-committal is if Virgil does commit, he actually, in my opinion, would stop the ball because the guy doesn't drill it to the near post, he cuts it back. So even if Virgil doesn't catch up to him, he's probably got a very good chance of blocking the pull back because, if you know what I mean, it pulls it back to the penalty spot. Keith, Virgil,
he can only pull it back, Grizz. He's at the byline.
Yeah.
That's all he can do. He ain't going to chip it because the ball will run out of play. He has to put his laces through it and pull it back.
Virgil van Dijk was captain. I don't know who said it before the chat, before we went live. Someone was saying that that's his worst performance. They think. Was it Steve? Steve said he thinks this is one of his worst performances. I think overall it's close because he was a captain. And captains are not allowed to or shouldn't. Because I think at that moment, his game went and he wasn't even able to lead and motivate others. especially on the back of missing chances. But I know you wanted to specifically speak about Virgil and some things about Virgil.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, we just got into a nice long debate about midfield and Liverpool and the way we set up and players and etc. etc. And the one thing that infuriates me more than anything else is games like today when your highest paid players, right, are the ones that are in situations that they should be dealing with and earning their crust. We all saw the figures that came out recently that Liverpool are now what? The second highest paid team in the world football, right? Earn those bonuses, Virgil. First of all, clear the man out if you have to clear the man out if you've already lost him. Pull him down if you have to. This idea that, you know, and rival fans take the piss out of me all the time. And sorry, I swore. Take the mick out of me all the time when it comes to Virgil and his aura, right? But sometimes I see situations like that, and I think, does he think that it's his aura? Because that aura is long gone. Players don't fear Virgil as much as they used to do, right? Players are more likely to run at him now because they know that actually, do you know what? If we do run
because
at
they're
him,
seeing it week in, week out.
But actually, do you know what? If he doesn't make the right decision at the right time, he's not gonna then take me out. He's not gonna then back his man. He's just gonna pass it on. And it's that you guys just said the perfect thing. It was kind of like, even if he just carried on moving, that was the worst thing. He just stopped. He stopped. Why are you stopping in a dangerous situation in the corner of the pitch? You're useless. You're in no man's land. So just carry on into the space. The least you could have done is be in that space and clear it. And he has this attitude about him that other things, like, I feel like sometimes he gets into his own head, whereas other things are the reason why something hasn't happened. Case in point was the free header after the goal, where all he had to do was direct that ball towards goal. It was free. There was no one around him. But because someone was pulling his arm, the first thing he starts an arm, someone's pulling my arm. Who cares if someone's pulling your arm? Just put your head through it. Don't try and nonchalantly try and like slide it in. Put your head through the ball and the ball hits the back of the net. Just be more imposing. You in the FIFA Pro 11, for crying out loud. You impose yourself in these kind of situations. And that's what really infuriated me, because against United, he's imposing himself on Rashford left, right, and centre, putting in hard tackles, putting his head on the ball. So what? Is it a case that you can't get yourself up for these type of games as captain of Liverpool? That, for me, is a big concern at this moment in time, because you're not a young buck who's still trying to find his way. You know what I mean? You are one of the most senior members of the club, and allowing that goal to happen and then miss the chance that you miss, that, for me, is inexcusable for a player who's been put on such a high pedestal. And the other thing I want to say about that goal is it was Sunday League stuff. Yeah, keeper picks up the ball. Everyone's ball watching. He flings it over to the corner. Geezer one touch kicks ball up in the air over, and all of a sudden,
just a channel ball
gone. Three touches over. I mean, you see that in Sunday League. It's like they glitched in FIFA. You know, in FIFA sometimes you might get like an internet glitch when you're playing online, and then the player just stops, and all of a sudden they're in your box and it's a goal. There was 3 Bournemouth players and Trent in the box. How is that possible? Where was everybody else when this whole situation was going on? How did 3 Bournemouth players make it into the box before any of our other Liverpool players, Bacecic, Fabinho, and Elliott at that same time? It was, honestly, it was that, for me, is why it really, really annoys me when we have players, as I said, we give our assurances to these players, and we go on at Klopp and systems and stuff like that, but sometimes it is this situation, this game was down to the players. This was down to the players, and in my opinion, no one should hold blame other than the players. That was a criminal goal, and if we don't get top 4 because of that, then we damn well don't deserve top 4, because that's how bad that goal was.
Evan, we concede half-time. Klopp runs in like he does, and we think, what's he cooking? What's the changes needed? What was the changes needed in your opinion? And did Klopp agree with you by the changes he made in the end? Like around the 60th minute, he makes the changes, doesn't he? Nothing happens at halftime. Am I wrong, guys? Because I haven't even bothered looking back at it. I don't think any changes are made at halftime.
No, I think Jota. Yeah.
Elliott for Jota, Jota for Elliott. Yeah, is that something that you was thinking in your soccer god brain?
In my soccer god brain, I'm thinking a few things. I was wondering if, briefly before I answer that question, can we share the first slide that I've
Yeah,
up here.
Let's do that. Let's do that instead.
Yeah. So just the first one. Don't think I'm logged into my account right now, so I can't do it. If somebody could add the slide in, just the first one. See, the main issue I have with the goal is look how kind of non-threatening this situation is. This is right as Adam Smith's about to hook it over the line. See, Konate's playing Utara on. Van Dijk's out of position. I think he had just gone up for a set piece or something like that prior to this goal. But this situation is, yeah, you have a runner in behind, but this situation cannot lead to the next situation. If you could put the next slide up for me, this situation cannot become this situation. How has that happened? Like the game isn't played in still images. I get it. I could find some still images.
Well, let's have a look back. Look.
How has one pretty unspectacular ball from Adam Smith become the next slide? How have they gotten to the byline of a free cross at goal and created an overload in the box? How has that happened? And but so I don't mean to discredit Bournemouth, because they did their game plan infinitely better than we did ours. That's undoubtedly. I don't mean to discredit them, but this goal felt so limp and lame. Like even the body language of Billing as he celebrates, it's kind of just like, oh, a goal, cool. It's how, like we don't even. This is what I mean when I say we're the easiest team to play against. We have not inspired anything amazing out of the opposition. It used to take something special to beat this team. When Watford beat us 3-0 away to deny us our invincible season, Watford played out of their skins that game. They were incredible. They were efficient. They had a great game plan. Their goals were high quality. There's nothing great about this. All due respect to Bournemouth, they played better than us, and I'm not trying to sound salty. I just wanted to share these slides. I took these screenshots a minute ago because I couldn't believe it in real time, and how has this become that? That's all I wanted to say. To answer your question, Grizz, the changes. I am not a 4-2-3-1 advocate. I'm not somebody who thinks of it as a realistic long-term vision for Liverpool. It's sort of me just accepting that Klopp's a pragmatist and he's probably going to stick to different versions of the 4-3-3. We've seen a few versions of them now. I do support switching to a 4-2-3-1 if the feeling is we need to be more direct and we need to put more balls into the box and take advantage of having 4 forwards on the field at any one given time. The difficult thing I had with that change is I didn't notice anything distinctly different about our build-up. Me thinking with the 4-2-3-1, okay, that means we're going to get Trent and Robertson further up the field. We're going to get into crossing positions so that when they look up, they have at least 2 central forwards to cross to and 2 wide forwards to do give and goes with, to do triangles with. And I didn't see any of that. I did not notice anything different at all about the way the ball went from point A to point B. And this is why I'm not a huge advocate of the 4-2-3-1, because I don't see a dramatic difference anytime we switch to it. So that's to answer your question, Grizz. If there were changes other than that substitution, tactically, I didn't see any.
Jota comes on, Conroy, and for the first 15-20 minutes, he actually... It's in fact not a create. In fact, it's not a chance created by us. It's actually we catch them on the ball. Jota actually wins the ball, counter presses, charges through. Very similar to the goal that was disallowed for Nunes against someone.
Wolves. Is that Wolves?
Yeah, he goes through, slaloms through, or powers through, however Jota does it. And the goalkeeper makes, I believe, his only save in the second half. And that was it. After that, Jota again is involved in a penalty incident. It was a clear penalty. At that stage, you're thinking, okay, the get out of jail card, we've got a penalty, or your reaction to my question suggests otherwise.
No, I thought he was going to miss because he spoke about it this week. He spoke about penalties this week and was like, as soon as you do stuff like that, you get in your own head. That's what you've done. Don't speak about your technique. It's not rocket science. Wait till you've retired. There you go. I wasn't really good at penalties. I didn't really take them. And then one day, Huddersfield, he gave me the ball. Why is he saying that in a chat before a game? There you go. You can have your opinions. I thought he was going to miss. I was correct. It's not a coincidence that he's just said that and he missed. He's made me so nervous when he takes penalties. Never missed. Not really. And then as soon as he has an interview speaking about it, he does that because he was in his own head. It's not as if Bournemouth was enticing him with a hostile crowd. He's in his own head, overdone it, skied it. There you go. Now we're going to talk about Milner taking it. Milner's never going to take it now before that because Salah is #1 penalty kick taker. We all know, everyone and their dog knows James Milner is the best penalty kick taker at Liverpool. We can all agree in that.
Yep.
We all know he is. Come on.
No.
He is the
Second.
best.
There's one man that's better.
Fabinho's missed for Liverpool as well. So
He's still better though.
In a pre-season.
No,
game,
Fabinho's missed in the
I'd
cup.
say for Liverpool, for what I've seen for Liverpool,
Yes.
I get where you're coming from, Cav.
I
in
don't
terms
get
of
where you're
Fabinho
coming
to-
from. I don't know what he's on about. Fabinho's took 1 penalty for
He's
Liverpool.
cold. He's cold.
One and
It's by the by though. It's by the by.
You've got a chip in your head against Chelsea. James Milner's took 20 penalties for Liverpool. That's data. That's evidence to back up. He's probably scored more than that. But for me, that was never going to happen. On Salah's thing, I thought he was going to miss. Just felt he was after those comments. You might think, oh, I can say that now. I genuinely did. Sometimes I just don't like when people speak about that until they finish football. Listen, I might be looking at it too much, but I thought he was going to miss. And he was in his own head, and he did. So ultimately, if that happens again, it'll be interesting to see who takes the penalty. If I'm James Milner, I'm like, giving me it. You had your chance. It's my chance. But I thought he was going to miss. And do you know what? We didn't deserve anything more than that. People are saying summer per season. For me, it's like, you should be good enough to score a penalty. You're the main man. You failed. He's not going to ruin anything from it, but you failed. We don't deserve anything. And it was pretty much that. But yeah, funnily enough, I did think he was going to miss. So
I just want to say how when he missed, I laughed. For the record, I thought he was going to miss, just a gut feeling. I laughed because it had become this unprecedented statistical anomaly how few penalties Liverpool had received in the Premier League. That's our first one in over 12 months in the Premier League. So for a team that spends so much time on the front foot and in the opponent's box, I know because I've done literal stats on this. I did an entire statistical project on this for school. Literally, it was hilariously low amount of penalties for Liverpool. So to finally get one for the most blatant, for a handball of all things, not even a foul, for a handball, and to finally get one, the day you really need to cash in your biannual penalty.
By the way, the ref didn't spot it. The VAR had to intervene. Otherwise, we still wouldn't have got the penalty. But guys,
100%. So to finally get a penalty after it being a statistical joke and like literally something that has puzzled like statisticians more relevant than me, to finally get one and then to put it 10 yards wide of the post, I laughed. That's about all I could do at 5:30 in the morning.
Can we address the fact quickly on the technique that he took it like it was a free kick? What? Side note, why is Mo over free kicks anyway? I don't know.
Well, that's a different conversation.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a different conversation. Waste of time, if you ask me. Waste of time more on free kicks.
So he's running around,
right? Why did he try and curl it, right? Why did you try and curl a penalty anyway? Because let's say that technique works. Technically, the curl is going back towards the keeper, central to the goal. So unless you're going to curl it to the right, I don't understand that technique whatsoever. Like, first of all, the decision
similar to the Arsenal one, though, isn't it? A couple of years ago when he put it in the top corner. I just think he was just trying to make sure, and he just overdone it.
Speaking of quirky penalty stats, it's actually another statistical phenomenon in penalties is that lefties rarely go to the left. Just something to point out. He went to the left.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they don't do it. But it's been this ongoing thing, right? Salah would rarely, if ever, miss. But everybody was all like, his technique makes me nervous. Because it's not
It's the thing. But there must be. But if so many people are feeling the same way, and and he has missed quite a few for club and country, considering how great he is, and he's an absolute king and legend. And we spoke last week about his record, and it's amazing, and no one's talking him down in terms of his overall standing. But I don't think he's a clean striker of the ball all the time. I don't think I 100% agree with Cav. It should be, or was it Conway? Or I don't know if it was all of us. Milner. If Milner's on the pitch, he should be the penalty taker. If Milner's not on the pitch, then I think, this is not reactionary. I'm genuinely mean this, guys. We need to find a new penalty taker. I know he scored crucial ones. I know he scored the Champions League one, which he just smashed. I don't think he's got a technique. I don't think he knows in his mind. And he actually admitted it, that I changed my mind at the last second. The elite penalty takers don't change their mind at the last second, from what I've read from great players.
Grizz, I years ago when I was involved in football, I worked with an ex-international goalkeeper who played for Martin O'Neill, and he explained to me what goalkeepers look for, and it's this. They look for the standing foot. Now, if the standing foot's close to the ball, the right foot of the player is going across his body into the keeper's right-hand side. And if he opens up his body by having a standing foot quite far away from the ball, he's opening up his body to go to the other side. What Mo Salah's doing by running around the ball, which is essentially what he's doing, he's trying to give the goalkeeper no idea where his standing foot's going to be. He often gets to the ball and
he's confused himself.
Yeah, it has to break a stride to strike the ball. If you do the traditional penalty shot, you strike the ball at the end of your stride pattern. When he's running around the ball, on occasions when he's missed, he's got to the ball within half a stride and he has to readjust his body to strike the ball. That is a dreadful technique and a dreadful penalty, and I agree that we probably need to find someone else.
And I'm telling you, not being reactionary, guys. Unless, are we all being reactionary? I'm saying many people in the chat are saying, "Oh, it's a penalty. It happens." It shouldn't.
On this show, no, it's been discussed many times before.
I don't think it's reactionary, but I think people would rightfully say it should be low on our list of priorities right now, which is fair. You know,
absolutely, but it's topical because
it is. I mean, it's the difference between 1 point and 0 points. So there you go. Yeah.
What I would add from me, it's not about saying he doesn't take them anymore. Personally, I just think Milner's not on the park that often, but when he is on the park, that's more my thought process. Is he is that clutch that it's a banker with him taking it. And to be fair to Mo has taken pressure penalties out well and
of
scored.
Course he has. Much bigger penalty, yeah.
But because his technique is a bit like, he's not sure. It's a bit unpredictable sometimes for the keepers as well. I mean, the keeper did go the wrong way, to be fair. So he got that part right with the penalty. But I just feel like for me, it's more if Milner's on the park, he takes it. I'm probably quite happy for Mo to be second and stuff because, he's got a bit of credit in the bank. But as I say, I was not a big fan of the comments about the technique during the week. And I may be wrong. I don't think that's a coincidence that's came out and then that's happened. I might be talking a lot of rubbish there, but to me, it looked like he got in his head a little bit and ultimately he missed it. But again, I think
my shout.
Something we didn't deserve.
There's my shout for the new penalty taker moving forward, guys.
I would like our new penalty taker to do this new in-fashion thing that I think will take over mainstream of walking up and not looking at the ball and looking at the keeper. Eden Hazard was the first one to do it all the time in the Premier League. Ivan Toney does this now. Plenty of players do this now where they put the ball down. After they put the ball down, they don't look at it again. They're looking at the keeper. They wait for the keeper to lean. They pass it the other direction. It seems to have a phenomenal success rate. The only time I can think of someone missing is Jorginho, I think, missed in the Euros. Pickford saved it. But that is the only time I think I've seen it not work. I don't know.
I know now's not the right time to speak about or glorify in any way, shape, or form Letitia, right? But in terms of penalty technique and how you described it, Ev, he was unbelievable at that. But
was he the first one to do it? My earliest memory is Hazard, obviously.
Yeah. Letitia was cold.
Can I just add a quick thing on that, Evan? It's a really interesting point. I'm not going to spend too long on it, but obviously Messi in the World Cups takes one against Poland, just tries to hit it in the corner, saves it. He previously took the one against Saudi Arabia and done the Neymar technique as well. So he, after that miss, just went back to that. And I think he had 4 after that following the miss, and he scored every one of them. And I feel like if you're a top player, you back yourself. The keepers, you can hit it far enough in the corner if the keeper goes one way. So I think it's a very good point, Evan.
But lads, as one of you pointed out, it's not worth sort of totally dwelling on, even though it's a talking point. So therefore, we talked about it. People in the chat saying, "Whoa, is Salah?" Well, he's part of the team, and it's a talking point. We missed a penalty. We lost 1-0, so we had to talk on talking points. Nearly 600 of you now, 230 likes. Wow.
Hey, Grizz, really quickly, I just want to say you said Matt Letitia. He has the highest conversion rate of all time. So there you go, 95% for Matt Letitia from the spot.
There you go. And you're talking a lot of fucking.
Yeah, he's in the.
Oh,
He's in the league for a really long time.
A lot of penalties. We're talking.
Many penalties.
Many penalties. Keith and Cav, I want to come to you guys, and just the end of the game. I couldn't see any way we're going to score a goal. He makes a couple of changes. No, he makes quite a few changes. The most bemusing one for me, oh no, actually, pretty much all of them are bemusing. Now I know Conroy wanted to speak on this, but I've come to used to. He again takes off Nunes. Nunes wasn't having a great game. Nunes, in my opinion, didn't have a great game against United, even though he scores 2 goals. And some people criticize me for having that opinion. He also takes off Trent, who I didn't think was having a disastrous game. And when Trent's one of those guys that I said about Jota, and I'm not sure if I'm meaning about Nunes yet, but Trent, if you're struggling to create, you do not take your most creative player off, especially when it could be a set piece or a free kick that gets you back in it, or a long ball, because you haven't got the midfield, like we've discussed, to get through them, to play through them. I didn't understand Trent coming off, and then the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend. How old is he, Keith? We have to mention his name. James, 30-year-old, 37-year-old James Milner. He comes on. I don't understand these changes for the life of me, Cav.
Well,
make sense of them for me.
Well, with Trent, he's crucial to what we achieved this season. Milner's the deputy right back. Obviously, Ramsey's out. So maybe he's a little bit concerned with some important games coming on the horizon about his fitness or the risk of him getting injured. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say that he just wrote off the Bournemouth result and whatever happens, happens. But I do think it was an element of protecting him, because I ain't trying to see Milner up against Vinicius Jr. on Wednesday. That is going to be, curtains. And then we've got City, we've got Chelsea, we've got Arsenal. So Trent's going to need to be available for these games. So it might have been protecting him. But in terms of this game, it didn't make sense. Like you say, the main creator in our team, the guy we look to get the assists and stuff, we were actually doing really well attacking set pieces, and he's our corner taker, him and Robertson, depending on what the variation is on the cross. So
that actually good. Our set pieces were actually good. They actually found the players' foreheads. It was not the set piece takers, it was the receivers.
Yeah.
Sorry to turning this into American football terminology, but it was the receivers that messed up.
Yeah. And then also, as the game goes on, you kind of know that Bournemouth are going to naturally sort of sit back and try to protect that lead. So Trent's going to have less and less sort of defensive duties, you'd have thought, and he could just really concentrate on just that offensive play and getting the balls into the box. Now, we've all said it, we don't really want to be that team that just hoofs balls into the box against a low block, but actually, as the game kind of transpired, that might have been a step forward from what we were actually doing. I felt the changes. I can understand why you bring Jota on and Firmino on, because they're quality and they're different types of players. But what we fail to recognise is Bournemouth isn't a big pitch. And if you bring them players on, what happens is they all want to play in that central 18-yard box area, which became so congested. Nobody was offering any real width. Salah comes in as he naturally does. Jota was coming in off the left. Gakpo was dropping deep and trying to receive the ball. And then obviously Bobby comes on. But it became too congested. There just literally was no space to do anything. And it made it easier for Bournemouth to try and defend. If it was me, I'd have left Nunes on the pitch and I'd have just told him to stay wide, to stay completely wide and just offer that width. Or put him up top and just aim balls at him. Just literally stick the ball. But we did neither. That's the thing. We did none. And then we take him off. Again, it might be because of the fact we have important games coming up. But I'll be honest.
We don't.
I didn't think that we needed to start Nunes this game.
Cav, this is what really burnt my head. We don't have important games coming up. Try convincing me that we really saving players for Real Madrid, 3 goals down, going to the Bernabeu in the Champions League. Try convincing me that we're actually taking off players in the hope that, okay, rest them.
Yeah,
it's scrambled thinking again, guys.
But this goes back to what Keith was saying, where it's like this emotion that this team has, and at times it's amazing and it's the best feeling in football, but at times it's a huge drain. And we'll all sit here and look at that Real Madrid game and go, the chances are so slim. But Klopp and the players will be going into that going, let's do it, let's make a miracle happen. And it won't happen, and it might be a drain again. It might be like, oh my God, we put physical energy into that. And mentally, it's like, I know we were going to lose, but we built ourselves up so much that we could maybe do something incredible again, and then they don't. So it's this constant, as Keith spoke about, emotional roller coaster, and it just takes it out of you. It just drains you.
It takes it out of the fans, and it's seemingly taking it out of Klopp. I thought, again, Klopp was very philosophical. When Klopp gets philosophical, we don't know. We only know when Klopp gets down and philosophical, he kind of not walks away, but he kind of mutually agreed to leave Dortmund, whatever. He's obviously come out and said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to stay, and I'm excited about the rebuild, and I know what needs to be done, Keith. I think it's a case of, let's just forget, and I know we've done a lot of moaning today, but we need to get off our chest. But I think realistically, looking forward, I think we know finally, because we've all sat here for the last 3 or 4 months and said what's needed, but we are no one. We are nobodies, absolutely nobodies. The only person that counted for was Klopp to realize or accept or to come out and say, I know what's needed. And he's almost blatantly hinted that it's the midfield that needs the work. So I think finally, we will get the rebuild that we needed in midfield. And let's just sit back and not enjoy the rest of the season, because it's not going to be enjoyable. It's going to be this.
I think the word is accept what has been the case. Because obviously, like, we can all remember that Jurgen Klopp in the summer said, look, I have 8 midfielders. How many more midfielders do I want? You know, again, when you look at Pep, right? I see the way he sold Sterling in Jesus in the summer, right? The way he let Ferran Torres go, the way he let João Cancelo go, like these type of players here, top players,
Leroy Sané,
go, right? There's no emotion with him, right? It's a case of, okay, like, you know, you've got to go now. You know, I feel like you're coming towards the end of your powers. You need to go. I think Klopp has been burned himself, and I'll be interested to see how this impacts his future as a manager, because this is probably the first time he's really had to do a proper rebuild, and I think it really will test his skills in terms of trusting players. He has trusted players that have given up on him in this season, mid-season, in my opinion. They've lost faith in him. They're not playing for the club anymore. There's one foot out of the door. This policy from FSG to run down players' contracts instead of letting them go when they need to be let go. A lot of these players should have been let go in the summer. They didn't push them out the door. They kept them on, and I think it's an acceptance with Klopp. So that is why he's being philosophical. Klopp is you know, he's got credit in the bank for what he's been able to achieve with Liverpool, but that credit in the bank next season will be down to 0, in my opinion, because now it's not going to be a case of, okay, give Klopp what he wants. Okay, he has it now. Now then you go into the conversations that we just had in the show, is what's the next evolution? Are they identifying the right players to play in the right systems that he wants? Or are we getting into a situation where you're bringing players that don't fit in with what he's trying to do, and he doesn't achieve the evolution or Klopp version 2.0? So it's there's as much pressure on Klopp as there is on the club.
Massive
season to be able to identify the players that they want to achieve the ideas that he believes will take Liverpool into the next stage. So, yeah, I think it's an acceptance, and it's starting to show a little bit. You know what I mean? Navigator and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain not even in the squad.
This is my point. We forgot to speak about it because I lost my Wi-Fi at the time. I was going to start off with the exclusion of them two, and it's so obvious that their time is done. And we know that anyway, but in terms of, he's not even utilizing them. He's not even utilizing them, because when Emre Can was still here, when Gini Wijnaldum was still here, we still utilized them. Lallana, when he was fit.
Yeah.
These guys not even being utilized suggests lack of professionalism, or Klopp's really annoyed with them, or no trust in them, or something else, guys. Or is there something else, guys?
All of it.
Are they fit? Because there's a suggestion that Keita was injured.
No, they're fit.
Tells you all you need to know, doesn't it?
162
You're on mute.
162 games missed.
I think it could be a question. There's being fit, meaning without injury, and then there's being match fit. And at this point in the season, now that the domestic cups are no longer a thing and the Champions League run is looking very unlikely, there's less chances to get fringe players match fit to the point where you could trust them in actual games that matter, if that makes sense. So we've lost the opportunities to give them fringe minutes, meaning they are not match fit, and therefore they don't make sense to bring them to the South Coast.
But again, that's their fault or Klopp's fault that they're not fringe or match fit or whatever, and they've only fringe fit.
Exactly.
Either we know their skill set and we know how much fitness they need to perform to the skill set that we require in a given match-given situation, or in my opinion, he's lost trust with them. He just doesn't. He wants them gone. And he put his trust in them over the years, and they've let him down. Well, their bodies have let them down, and it's a shame that it's the way it's ending. But it's a shame for Liverpool Football Club as well, because as a result of their absence, we're relying on two kids starting away where they could have been starting.
But at the same time, I would argue that those two kids have had better moments on the pitch for Liverpool this season, and are impacting the team in more positive ways than those other two were. So you can't justify giving them valuable minutes that you could use to develop this young talent that is currently outperforming these guys that can't get in the team.
Which is their fault then.
Yeah, exactly. It all goes back to them. And, those two specifically have spent so much time out injured that it's just impossible for them to find rhythm or to find it. But yeah, it could be something brewing behind the scenes, maybe with the end so near for them, it's difficult to maintain levels of intensity in training or things like that.
Few super chats to get through before we look forward to the miracle of Madrid. Diallo says, "Don't worry, lads. We're doing LFC's job this season." Diallo's an Arsenal fan who was a fantastic caller on the call-in show. Really enjoyed his company. Yeah, you're doing great things this season. Can't deny it. Cam says, "The Thiago who joined," and appreciate the generous support. He says, "Thiago who joined is different to the one now." Is he, lads? Is he really? He's been all this season, all his life, in my opinion. Just doesn't play enough football, or wherever club he's at. On his debut versus Chelsea, he was sensational and broke the passing record. They have coached that out of him to run all over the pitch and close down. Have we not utilized, very quickly, guys, who wants to take that? Have we not utilized Thiago to the best of his ability?
I just want to understand one thing. Why is Thiago the part of the four-man press when the other team has the ball? I will talk about the Brighton game, where I felt that he was joining the press with the front three, which was then we made the argument that he's chasing back. So basically, maybe you are right, Cam J, in terms of we're getting them to do what Gini Wijnaldum used to have to do, but he's not Gini Wijnaldum, and he's not the type of player who should be running all the way back to try and cover if he's trying done the fourth man press. So probably there is an element of truth to that.
Yo, what's good says, "I don't think changing, appreciate the support. I don't think changing how we play is the problem. It's the profiles in the positions. I watch our first phase build up and it's laughable. It is. We resort to a vertical ball or random ball down the wing to Salah." We've alluded to that. I think this was probably the sentiment when we were discussing it. Evan, did you want to touch upon it a bit more?
Yeah, I was going to say, I completely agree with that. It's more of a square pegs, round holes, but it's just this constant conflict of how you should be playing with who you have versus who you have and how you play them. It's just this constant battle, and it's just constant. It's just constantly in limbo. It feels like.
Do you know what's disheartening as well? Just quickly, is like we could all see in that Bournemouth game that we're struggling to create real clear-cut chances, and at no point do you really see Klopp sort of pull the players over and look like he's changing anything. Like, when you watch other teams, and I hate to do this comparison, but you do see Arteta and Pep like pull guys over, and seemingly you see their body actions and stuff, like they're telling him how to maybe change things up. You make this movement, he'll put the ball there and stuff. But Klopp never seems to do any of that. It's just stand there, smile, and just trust it will come good. And it's like, I kind of want to see you change something, tell the players something in the game to do something different.
Kenna sent in a super chat. People, if you want to know what toasty I'm having, it's spinach and lentils. Spinach and lentils. Make of that what you will. Neither. I know you. I knew you were going to say that. It's too common for you. I know. Neither DM. Well, this will continue. Fabinho is now inconsistent. But when he's playing decently, the team looks a different class. The most key players in the top 4 teams are in the middle of the park.
100%, 100%. I think, like you saw last week as well, I think his legs have just gone now. You saw last week, you could probably wait a couple of weeks and pull off a world-class performance, Fabinho. But I just think he can't do that consistently now. And I absolutely agree with that point.
I agree with you. He can't do it consistently. I know he showed us something and we got excited. But yeah, Cam J again comes back. He says, the amount of Milner players, he has to have a sex tape of, someone said earlier, maybe it's in his contract or something that he has to make a certain amount of appearances or something. I don't know.
He's playing more now, Grizz, than before he signed the contract. As Keith says, he's playing more now than before he signed the extension.
Wait, ask him exactly. He took a pay cut to play more football. Imagine that. He took a pay cut to play more football.
Hey, it was his cross that led to the penalty.
No, he's not. He's not the one to blame or anything. He's a hero and a legend of mine. I will never let anyone say a bad word about James Milner. But like Bajcetic and Elliott, he shouldn't be in this situation. He shouldn't be the reason. He shouldn't be coming off the bench. Right, take a Superman. He's not the Superman right now for us. Super granddad. It didn't work, but
no.
If you force it, sometimes you just go through with it. Just force it through. But listen, right.
That's what we've had to resort to. That's where we are right now.
Enough of the rubbish jokes. None of you lot are really funny. Big up Pixelated Pigeon. And he wants to remind us or make us even more panicky and worried, or whatever the case may be. What is it? What's going on? Next 4 games. Madrid away, City away, Chelsea away, Arsenal home. Have you ever seen a 4-game fixture like it? And what does it mean for the rest of our season? I'm personally not going to talk about Madrid. If you guys want to talk about it, no problem. Those 3 away games are absolutely pivotal and mental, absolutely pivotal in how we, or if we finish in the top 4. I want to know how many points minimum is required for us to get top 4 overall. Because after this 3, I'm actually going to say this and I'm actually going to do this and I don't learn. So how's Klopp and Kall going to learn when we don't learn our lessons? But after this, our running's quite decent and our games are quite winnable.
Oh, what? Going away to Leeds is this 4. I look at these 4, and then he forgot to add Leeds away. That's the one we'll probably end up losing.
We're getting maximum points in these games. We're going to lose 2-0 to Leeds, so that's
the 19th place Leeds. Yeah, we might hold 3 or 4 at Ellen Road. I mean, to answer your question, Grizz, I'm looking at the table right now. We currently sit on 42 points. Tottenham in 4th with 48. I think with 24 points to play for, I think we need
36 points to play for.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think you need a minimum of 25, to be honest, from that allotted amount.
About 5 weeks ago, me and a few mates on another different platform worked out that usually it's about 70 points that gets you top 4. If that's the case, that's 28 points needed out of 36.
Yeah, so I said 60. That means I would say 67 points gets the job done. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I would say in between 65 at the very least, 75 to be safe. You know.
Talk to me, panel.
Well, you look at those league games there. If you don't get 7 points from those league games, given that both Spurs and Newcastle took advantage of our result this week, you basically could find yourself chasing an unachievable target off the back of those 3 games. I've no doubt we'll get ourselves up for these games because we do when we play. It's like you said before, Grizz, you said earlier on, it's the teams that come and play football with you that you beat. And all 3 of those sides will come and try and play football. There'll be no low block. There'll be no sort of lunatics in midfield trying to set up 50-50s and steamroll you. These 3 will come and try and play football against us. And I think we'll give a good account of ourselves. It's like we've said before, when you go to Leeds, when we have Nottingham Forest come to Anfield and other games with teams that are struggling that will try and frustrate us and not play football, those are the ones that could end up tripping us up. We could come out of that week that 8 days, those 3 league games, I feel quite good about ourselves. And we could find ourselves having another conversation like this very shortly afterwards.
I think
rest of you.
I think the thing to mention is our away forms was terrible this season. So yes, we get ourselves up for these games, but we're away. And as much as I think, the boys will be up for it and they'll try, City and Chelsea away is still difficult. I mean, Chelsea, I know they've not had a great season themselves, but they seem as though, past couple of good results, they might, have a third win on the bounce come that game. That will still be tough. We never really go to Stamford Bridge and convincingly win anyway. I don't think we always, if we win, we get an odd goal, but usually draws play out between these two sides.
And they just about to be hitting kind of form and looking good again, by the way.
That's what I'm saying. The Arsenal one for me, just because we're at home and it's against a good side and the crowd behind us and the motivation seems to be there for the players with these bigger games, is the one that I would be most confident about. The other two, I'd be really concerned about, to be honest.
Oh, but guess who'll be back for the Chelsea away game?
Kante.
Oh, yes.
Of course he will be.
Of course he will.
They're gonna thaw him out. They're gonna take him out of his cryogenic chamber and they're gonna thaw him out.
100%.
Always do.
But who will be back for us?
Everyone will be back for us.
That could be important.
I think
on that, for me, listen,
Sorry,
if they pull off the Madrid, mate, fuck it, sack the league, finish 10th. I don't care, right? If you pull off the Madrid,
no man, stop it. I don't know.
Sack off the league.
Keith, I'm there with you. If we get through against Madrid, I am there with you.
Yeah, I'm not even discussing it. I didn't want to ask you lot about it, but go on if you want to talk childish waffle. Conray, go on.
Yeah, no, I think I agree.
Grow up.
I agree with Cav. I think that the away factor definitely, but as I say, it wouldn't surprise me if we got maybe 7 points, not the Madrid game, maybe 7 points from those games, and then ended up drawing or losing to a Leeds away. Fixtures like that. I think we've got Brighton at home as well. Or am I getting mixed? No, I'm getting mixed up. We haven't. But I would add as well. I think Brighton have got a game in hand. I think as well. That may affect the places. 2 games and Newcastle, by winning today, I think if they win their 2 games, they go above Spurs. And Newcastle, not their next fixture, but the fixture after that is against United. And I think if they beat them, that'll put them even further in it as well, with United dropping into it. So it's going to add another team to that. So I feel like that result this weekend and Newcastle winning today is I think that's actually caused a few issues as well. On top of that, people keep complaining that Newcastle keep drawing. But the thing is, they've kept drawing, which means they've kept putting points on the board, and it seems to be that they're still in it. So there is the factor that it's not a title race. So it really isn't a case of you need to win every game. But I just think because certain teams have got games in hand and certain fixtures coming up, like Spurs playing us again, I think Arsenal play Chelsea away. There's quite a few things to happen. There's Man United again dropping points. I feel like there's going to be quite a few things, very important matchups coming. So for me, I'm still on the side of we're not going to make it, not to be pessimistic, guys. But from those fixtures, I wouldn't be surprised if we got 7 points. I'd probably say 7 points right now. It would not surprise me.
It would surprise me. I'm going to put it stand and say it. Call me negative and call me lost it and completely. It would surprise me if we got 7 points out of those 3 fixtures. But this flag is the Colombian flag, and people are saying Luis Diaz could come back at the right time. Of course, he's going to need the next 2 weeks, guys. How many days no game? 18 days no game, so 3 weeks pretty much in effect. Will give him time to get fit, but of course not match fit. I'd say he's going to play at least one behind closed doors game to get him up to match sharpness and fitness. And then we see how we go. We must end it there. Sorry, Kath.
Just the final point I wanted to add. International break, and we play Man City 12:30. Sorry, Evan. When we come back, it'll be interesting to see what players are available for that. Because I think the guys from their respective club countries coming back, I don't know how many days training they're going to have. So that might be an interesting team selection for both us and Man City, to be honest. I don't think our Brazilians have been called.
No
so
one's
they'll
been
be okay.
We're pile of doo-doo, man. Who's going to pick our players right now?
Maybe we're playing 4D chess here. maybe that's what we're doing, lads. We're distracted.
You remember? No, it's a good point, because you remember when we were really good, we'd like lose all of our players to international break, and like Joe Gomez would come back with like a hamstring tear or something like that. Like that's it. I swear it used to happen. But now that we're shit, nobody cares. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Just tell Fabinho, I want you to go out and have an absolute nightmare. Okay, boss.
But yeah, look, 19 days of no Liverpool after Madrid. Some of the panelists think this could be something special. They just don't want to admit it. I know Keith inside's thinking, something could happen here, but he's not going to say it on screen because he will look like an idiot. But what I say to that is it wouldn't be the first time. But listen, we are nearing the end of another magnificent RedFellas episode. Over 600 of you stayed with us. Smash the like if you haven't. Subscribe if you haven't. We are all going to harass, message him, DM him, Instagram, whatever, for Evan to set up a draft in these 18 days, because that's what we want, right, guys? We want a draft. We want a draft.
And so, I will let me say, the next draft, the foundations are in place. I need, not including myself, I need 6 people. So perhaps this panel, not including myself, we can get Olms in there as well. I need 6 people, and you will soon see why. That's all I will say.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, it didn't need much convincing. I thought we were going to have to harass him, but still harass him, message him, DM him, give him ideas. In fact, suggestions or rumors are he may not need ideas because he's got something in his brain, and that's dangerous. Conroy, Steve, Cav, Keith, Evan, it's been magnificent. Thank you very much for participating, taking part. I feel the same today. I don't feel any different today, but that's not your guys' fault. That is the fault of our club, but we still love them. You never walk alone on that. LFC family, RedFellas, sponsored by yourfutcard.com. Go check them out. Banners, cards, flags, prints, anything you want. You type in RedFellas, you get 15% off. You can't go wrong. I think it's time to say bye, lads. What do you think? Peace out, guys. Take care. God bless. Stay safe.
Yeah.